Crystal Palace working on Marc Guehi replacement to give Liverpool transfer boost. Liverpool is chasing Marc Guehi from Crystal Palace, but manager Oliver Glasner is desperate to either keep his captain or find a suitable replacement late in the window. Liverpool is hopeful that it will be able to squeeze a transfer deal over the line for Marc Guehi before the 7 p.m. 2 p.m. Eastern Time deadline at the end of the summer window. But while CEO Steve Parish has already admitted that his side cannot afford to lose its captain on a free transfer next summer and would prefer to cash in now instead, manager Oliver Glasner has remained insistent that Guehi would not be allowed to depart. "We all agreed that we can only sell Marc if we have the right replacement in the building. We wanted a replacement by July 1st. It is August 31st and we have no replacement. We have this agreement, so it is clear from me. He is such a crucial player. He is one of our key players. He is our captain." Guehi, who scored a screamer against Aston Villa in a 3-0 win and appeared to be ushered over to the away end at the final whistle by his teammates, was also asked about his future. "All I know is when you score goals like that, it is always down to team performance," he said. "People will try to single out the goal, but that was a clear team performance tonight." Crystal Palace looked at AC Milan centre-back Strahinja Pavlovic earlier in the year, but he proved to be too expensive at the time. The 24-year-old Serbian, according to Sky Sports, is now back on the agenda and could be a late possibility. If Crystal Palace could get another defender in, Glasner would be likelier to agree to letting Guehi go. And Liverpool is still pushing for that move to happen before the deadline. "For players of that caliber to leave on a free, it's a problem for us, unfortunately," Crystal Palace CEO Parish said last month. "Joachim Andersen went to Fulham last summer, and we couldn't afford to lose both. We then had another bid for Guehi in January, but that was a different situation. We'll just have to see what happens. But, it needs a new contract or a conclusion of some kind." Liverpool preparing for Guehi medical. Liverpool are preparing for Marc Guehi to have a medical in London, knowing that any deal with Crystal Palace to sign him could go close to tonight's 7 p.m. deadline. Any agreement between the two clubs will hinge on Palace being able to bolster their defensive ranks before they sign off a move for Guehi. But talks with Liverpool's bosses remain very much alive. To that end, the Brighton defender Igor Julio is currently undergoing a medical before sealing a move to Selhurst Park. Although the Eagles have concerns that West Ham may make a late move to try to persuade Igor to join them. Until Igor is confirmed, Palace are adamant they will not let Guehi leave. Liverpool want to make sure they have all the medical provisions in place and ready, should a deal be struck, and Guehi would then be given permission to travel to try to complete a move. The Palace captain is understood to be in the area and awaiting further developments. Liverpool target Guehi's Palace future hanging in balance. Liverpool target Marc Guehi's future at Crystal Palace hangs in the balance heading into the final hours of the window. One source has told Sky Sports News it is 50-50 whether the England defender moves to Liverpool or not. The club are currently tying up deals to bring in central defenders JD Canvett and Igor Julio on deadline day. However, signing the pair does not mean Guehi will definitely depart Palace today. Palace are reluctant to sell their club captain, but losing Guehi for free would be a bitter pill to swallow. The 25-year-old has entered the final year of his deal at Selhurst Park. Liverpool agree £35 million Marc Guehi transfer as medical details confirmed. Marc Guehi is having his medical in London ahead of a £35 million transfer from Crystal Palace to Liverpool on transfer deadline day. Having initiated talks earlier this month, the Premier League champions tabled an offer of £35 million with a 10% sell-on clause on Saturday, although the FA Cup holders had been insisting on a £40 million deal for their defender. An agreement has now been reached between the clubs, paving the way for Guehi to undergo a medical in the capital ahead of completing a move to Liverpool. Eagles boss Oliver Glasner had been desperate to keep his captain for the campaign, but with the 25-year-old inside the final 12 months of his deal at Selhurst Park, Palace feel they are left with little choice but to do business. Joe Gomez had been discussed as a potential makeweight in a deal for Guehi after Glasner claimed on Friday that it was not possible to source a successor to his captain at such short notice. But Liverpool had no interest in losing their versatile and long-serving defender on a short-term deal. The Austrian coach doubled down on his insistence that Guehi could not move without a successor in place, saying after Sunday's 3-0 win over Aston Villa, in a game where Guehi scored an eye-catching strike, Glasner said, "We had a meeting in March and we had an agreement that we're just selling Marc if we have the right replacement in. And we wanted to have this replacement at the beginning of the season, the pre-season, to be independent from this situation." This was July 9th. Today is August 31st. There is no replacement in the building. So it is clear that one part of the agreement is not fulfilled. That means we can't sell Marc. And it's not for Oliver Glasner. It's not a gift or a wish for Oliver Glasner. It's necessary for playing a successful season. We had a great start. We are the first-time European football, and I think our fans deserve to have the best players available. Arne Slot gives Ibrahima Konate and Florian Wirtz injury update and Marc Guehi Liverpool transfer hint. Arne Slot has played down injury fears for Ibrahima Konate and Florian Wirtz after the duo were forced off during Liverpool's Premier League win over Arsenal. And the Reds' boss has hinted his squad has sufficient cover at centre-back despite the ongoing interest in Crystal Palace skipper Marc Guehi. Konate hobbled from the field 11 minutes from the end of the 1-0 victory against Arsenal on Sunday afternoon that moved the Reds 2 points clear at the top of the embryonic table. The France international believed he was suffering from cramp, but will undergo scans with Liverpool not taking any chances over his fitness. He thinks it's cramp and I have no reason to doubt him, although sometimes players talk about cramp, and then we make a scan and it's more than that, said Reds boss Slot. Jeremy Frimpong wasn't too happy, like some pundits, when we took him out against Bournemouth. He thought he only had cramp or only felt it a little bit, and he's already out for 2 or 3 weeks now. Let's wait and see. Wirtz was replaced late on after being in visible discomfort, although Slot said, "It wasn't an injury. It was a welcome to the Premier League." It was after 85 minutes. I don't think he knew he could have cramp in so many different places. That's what happened. That is welcome to the Premier League. Welcome to this intensity against an Arsenal side who can play very intense as well. If you bring in what we do, very good players, so talented but from different leagues, and young, 22 Florian, 23 Hugo Ekitike, it's normal that if you aren't 27 or 28 that you maybe need to make a step towards the Premier League. That's what these two are doing. Palace want £40 million for the England international, who is out of contract in less than 12 months, while the Reds have offered £35 million with a 10% sell-on. And Slot made reference to his centre-back options when he said, "On a positive note, Joe Gomez, what a 15 minutes. I had to make one difficult choice today because I had to leave one player out of the squad with only Frimpong being injured. The good thing was it was a centre-back in Giovanni Leone, so we are perfectly placed in that position. Why are Liverpool able to spend so much this summer? It's absolutely fascinating. For most of the Fenway Sports Group time in charge, which is now over 15 years, they've run a balanced transfer budget outs paying for ins. They've done it successfully and have been competitive. But it's fair to say we're seeing a complete change of strategic approach from Fenway now. They're making massive net investment, and I think the question is why. My suspicion is 2 things. They're looking at the competitive position for the first time in many years, and they see a genuine opportunity to really dominate British and European football in a way that perhaps hasn't been true over the last few years. The second element is the financial rules. These are heaven-made for a club like Liverpool. They have the most superb sponsorship revenue in football. There are household brands around the edge of the pitch every week. Massive levels of commercial turnover. They redeveloped Anfield very successfully. It's packed every week. So their revenues are high and the rules favor clubs like that. I think they're sensing the financial rules may be changing. We're starting to hear for the first time fans question if the rules are right, and it's stopping big clubs from spending money, like Newcastle and Aston Villa. My sense is Liverpool are making hay while the sun shines, loading up on talent to put themselves in a position where they're virtually impregnable. It's brilliant strategic management, terrifying from a football point of view because adding Isak and Guehi to that team makes them nailed-on favorites, and other clubs should be fearful and respectful of how they're running their club.